Community Radio.
Have you ever met a single person in your life that enjoys paying taxes? No one does. If you can't sleep at night because you have a huge problem with the IRS, I've got some free advice for you. This service is strictly limited to individuals that owe the IRS $10,000 or more in back taxes. And if you qualify, we can guarantee that you won't be writing a big fat check to the IRS, or our services cost you nothing. The first 100 people that call today will get a free tax consultation worth $500. Stop worrying about your IRS problem. We can help you, we promise. Call the tax doctor right now. I mean right now to learn more.
800-240-4587. 800-240-4587. 800-240-4587. That's 800-240-4587.
Why have thousands of aspiring authors teamed up with Christian Faith Publishing to publish their book? Because Christian Faith Publishing is an author-friendly publisher who understands that your labor is more than just a book. We provide authors freedom and flexibility throughout the publishing process, professional book editing, award-winning design, and some of the highest royalty structures in the publishing industry. And as always, you will retain 100% of the rights to your book.
I was looking to find a company that I could trust, one that assisted in the editing process completely.
The most important qualities that I was looking for was a publisher who was honest and upfront, no hidden costs or fees, and owning the rights to my own work.
Christian Faith Publishing will publish, market, and sell your books in all major bookstores, online booksellers, as well as specialty Christian bookstores. Call for your free author submission kit.
800-978-4812. 800-978-4812. 800-978-4812. That's 800-978-4812.
Here's important new information from the Diabetes Solution Center for you, a family member, or a loved one suffering with diabetes. If you have lost your provider, or if you need a provider for diabetic supplies, you may qualify to receive your diabetic testing supplies now with little or no out-of-pocket cost, regardless of your age. All you need is Medicare or private insurance to be potentially eligible. Call the Diabetes Solution Center right now for details. Just takes a couple of minutes. Our friendly, knowledgeable agents will give you free, no-obligation information, handle all the insurance paperwork, and make sure your supplies are delivered directly to your door for free.
Call U.S. Medical Supply 24 hours a day. 800-597-9323. 800-597-9323. 800-597-9323. Call right now. 800-597-9323.
Let's be honest. Wheelchairs are heavy, bulky, and ugly. If you carry a wheelchair in your car to take care of a loved one, you know how hard it is getting that clunky, old-style wheelchair in and out of your car. Introducing the Feather Chair Wheelchair. At 13 pounds, it's the world's lightest wheelchair. It folds in seconds and fits neatly in your trunk, backseat, or closet, so you can take it everywhere. And it's only available right here. Order yours today and get a free wheelchair case, a $50 value, yours free. The Feather Chair. The world's lightest wheelchair is just $4.99 with easy payments as low as $16 a month. Sorry, no Medicare or insurance accepted. So call right now to order yours.
800-823-5826. 800-823-5826. 800-823-5826. That's 800-823-5826.
Good morning. Happy Monday morning, everyone. It is Adam and Martin joining you all from the Dominican Republic, talking to you this morning about the 5 biggest fat loss myths when it comes to keeping you stuck and frustrated and essentially spinning your wheels when you're trying to lose weight, get fit, get healthy, look good naked, and everything else in between. So we're going to dive into those this morning and also try and set your week up right to make sure that you're not only making some progress when it comes to your health and fitness, but you're also making sure that you're sticking to it, and obviously not just hitting your goals, but you're maintaining it for the rest of the year and the rest of your life. So we're going to dive straight into it, making sure that we don't waste any of your time. So if you have a pen and paper, if you can take some notes, take the stuff down, because we don't want to just talk and ramble on these segments in the morning. We want to make sure that we're providing you with some good value and making sure that you are taking some actionable steps away with you and can actually put some of this advice to some work and see some actionable change. So like I said, Martin and I are joining you all the way from the very sunny Dominican Republic. Martin has been on a health journey for some time, much like I. This is how we met. We joined a fitness program during the COVID period that we all remember very, very well. And this is how we became friends. And this is how I ended up in the Dominican Republic. But through that stage, obviously, like the fitness side of things bonded us very, very well. And we've both seen some crazy myths and gone through some, let's say, like interesting phases of both of our fitness journeys. So Martin, what's the first or the craziest, let's say, fitness myth that you experienced yourself and then debunked by going through it yourself?
One thing I would just like to say, good morning, everybody. Live from the Dominican Republic, absolutely amazing and beautiful. However, COVID brought out something important for everybody. I went into COVID and we got locked down in quarantine, and I knew that situation would make me or break me. And this is important for everybody. A crisis comes in your life and you face massive adversity, and it's either going to make you or break you. You know, a breakup, for example, a divorce, the loss of a loved one, you know, some big traumatic event in your life. COVID was a great example. And we went into that, and I was either going to sit at home and stuff my face with junk food and come out of it, you know, a broken, overweight, depressed person. And I knew it. Or I said to myself, I'm going to go into this and I'm going to use it to make me. And this is the same with every adverse situation that comes up in life and every trauma that we face. And we can wallow in the misery and we can come out the other side depressed, or we can say, I'm going to use this pain, I'm going to use this trauma, and it can be used for us to take action. And, you know, heartbreak's a great example, and we come out of it broken, or we can use that massive emotion and use it to put ourselves into action. And, you know, that's the choice that we can make. That's the first one. To answer your question, the big one for me is carbs. You know, I was just watching a video yesterday that said, I've never seen anybody create genuine muscle mass without the use of carbs. All these people that have only a diet that has protein and fat, you come out at the other side of it basically as a bag of skin and bones. And then, you know, you have a very flat appearance and very skinny. And then, you know, if you want a genuine, good aesthetic look at the end, you have to have carbs in there. And, you know, a lot of people shy away from it, especially on a fat loss journey, that you go away from carbs. And yes, if you just want to lose numbers on a scale, you'll achieve that, but the end result is not going to be very visually appealing. And we need carbs in there to create a good visual effect at the end where it is going to look aesthetically appealing, and you are going to have, you know, female curves and a good visual result at the end. That carbs are an essential component of that.
Yeah, 100%. And this is actually like walking us into myth number one, right? So as 99% of my clients are female, one of the biggest myths I have to bust with them straight out the gate when they start working with me is lifting weights will make you bulky, right? And often I hear this all the time, and you know, we see this all the time now. There's a huge trend in the gym, and there has been a huge shift in the gym over the last couple of years where a lot more women are getting into, like, let's say, the dumbbell section and throwing around some weights, and it's becoming more trendy, which is awesome. But it takes such a long time to build muscle, and there has to be so many things in the equation exactly right to get your body to build muscle and then sustain it. It's not like you're going to pick up a dumbbell and then all of a sudden turn into Arnold Schwarzenegger overnight. It takes such a long time. So the mindset of I'm going to start lifting weights and then turn into Hulk overnight. It's just not going to happen. Lifting weights does not make you bulky. The other part of this myth, and I wish I could demonstrate this with some visuals, but muscle takes up less space than body fat, right? So this bulky look that you're getting more of a bulky look from having more body fat on your body than you are from having more muscle on your frame. So this bulky look that you're trying to avoid is coming from your body fat. It's not coming from the muscle mass that you're building. So I understand a lot of the fear that you might have when you are starting to train or starting to do resistance training, and then maybe your clothes start to fit a little bit different than they were before, or they start, like the jeans start to fit a little bit different. But this is all part of the transition that you're going from not lifting weights to now lifting weights. Your posture is going to change, your body's going to change. But if you start to drop that body fat and you start to keep on that path, your body will change for the better 100%. It takes such a long time to build muscle. Like, I've been trying to build muscle and get bulky for the last 15 years. I'm still not where I want to be. So it takes a long, long time to get there.
Yeah. I mean, we can use visuals because obviously people have got imaginations. And one of my favorite quotes is, train the way you want to look. Look at a marathon runner, go and train that way. Go and do long, steady state cardio all the time and end up looking like a marathon runner. And do you want that as a female? Type in Google now, marathon runner. And do you want to look like that as a female? You know, it's just super skinny, zero muscle mass, zero curves. And now type in, you know, female bikini model competitor. And, you know, that's like the classic sort of aim of what a female might want to look like, where it's a beautiful feminine woman with curves, etc. And now look at how they train, and they are doing heavy weightlifting, squats, you know, hamstring curls, all this kind of stuff. And they are doing heavy weights, and that's the end result that you want to have and train the way you want to look. And it is moving away from this really calorie restrictive diet with long, steady state cardio, because that's the marathon runner look that you're going to get.
Well, yeah, this is also part of the equation is you don't have to like do cute exercises in the gym, right? When I say cute exercises, we all see like on Instagram and TikTok and everything else where they're doing booty band kickbacks or kickbacks on the Stairmaster or only doing cable kickbacks or that kind of stuff. The exercises that are going to get you the body that you want are going to come from doing the exercises that are just the foundational exercises, like the squats, like the leg press, like the seated row, like the ugly exercises that aren't Instagram worthy or don't look pretty or don't look cute. Those are going to give you the body or the shape that you really, really want. So when it comes to the myth busting around having the body of your dreams, it's essentially doing the foundational work that everyone tries to avoid.
I was having a conversation the other day, and I was saying, you know, the more fancy and complicated the name is, the more likely it is we've got to throw it out the window. That's to do with the diet and the exercise. You know, probably if it's got more than 3 syllables, like we don't have to do, you know, hamstring curl, squat, leg press, you know, leg extension. If it has more than 3 syllables, we probably just forget about it. You know, when you're doing the backward turnaround, camel, hamstring, kickback or whatever, just forget about it. Yeah. And you know, all the California zero cabbage diet and all that, like the fancier it is, the more likely it is that it's probably not going to be conducive to the long, sustainable end goal that we're looking for. You know, basic, proven, sustainable diet, exercise programs. You know, they've been around for a long, long time for reasons. The fad diet and exercise programs are fad, temporary, short term, come and go for a reason. You know, they've not been here for the last 50 years for a reason. You know, the ones that have been here for 50, 60 years, they've lasted that long because they've been proven over a long period of time, right?
Yeah, 100%. So this leads us into myth number 2. You must do fasted cardio for fat loss, right? So this is something that has been scientifically proven time and time again that it is not something that you have to do for fat loss. when it comes to fat loss, the only thing that is going to move any fat off your body is being in a calorie deficit. Whether you do keto or you do vegetarian diet or pescatarian diet, whatever it is, you have to be in a calorie deficit. So whether you choose to do fasted cardio or not, fasted cardio is not a magic bullet. Like Martin has just said, it has to be sustainable for you, and it has to align with who you are as a person. If you can sustain fasted cardio because it aligns with who you are, you like doing it, you can do it before work, or you can sustain it over long periods of time, then you're going to get the results and you're going to be able to maintain it. But if you're just doing it because you think it's a magic fix to the 50 or 100 pounds you want to lose in the next 2 weeks, it's not all of a sudden going to give you a silver bullet to the weight that you want to lose. There is no, like I said, magic behind it. It is just making sure that it is shortening your eating window, which is putting you in a calorie deficit. That is it. It's not putting you in a fancy fat burning zone. It is not putting you in any kind of magical benefit cardio fat burning zone at all. It's going to make probably 90% of you miserable. It's probably going to make you feel sick, and you're probably not going to have enough energy to get through the workout, which means you're not going to be able to sustain it, and you're going to end up hating it and then not doing it. So if you want to do it, try it. If you can sustain it, do it. If you can't, don't do it. It's one of the things that I've learned over the last 15 years of coaching people. If someone doesn't like eating broccoli, you don't put it in their meal plan. If someone doesn't like doing cardio, don't put it in their plan at all, because they're not going to do it unless you force them to do it consistently. Martin, what's your takeaway with that?
I always say that the only diet and the only workout plan that is going to work is the one that you stick to. We could give you the best diet in the world and the best workout plan in the world, and if you don't do it, you ain't going to get any results. And if we give you a calorie restricted diet that's not that good and a workout plan that's not that good, but you did it consistently over a year, obviously you're going to get much better results than one that you don't do, right? Yes. So obviously it's we just need something that you're able to do consistently. And, as Adam said, the basics of it is it's just a calorie deficit. As long as you're in a calorie deficit, that's the thing that's going to work. Yes, obviously, it does get more complicated than that. And then there are factors that are going to be unique to you, which, some people will react a little bit better to fasted cardio. Some people will react better to less carbs. And, there is things that are going to be unique to you, which is why you would need a coach who are going to be able to see the things that are specific to yourself. But those are little adjustments that come later on. The basic is calorie deficit, and then the basic is, strong basic exercises with progressive overload over time. And then these things are going to get you results that we need to fine tune later on.
Yeah, 100%. So moving into the next segment, which is myth number 3. Martin spoke about this earlier in the day or earlier in the conversation. We spoke about carbs, right? And the fact that you can definitely eat carbohydrates if you want to lose weight. And it's part of the macronutrients that our body needs. And it's a huge, huge part of the fact that we need it for an energy source. So when we're talking about your energy sources, we have fats and we have carbohydrates. Both of them are very, very important when it comes to not only function as a human being, but what we need to sustain ourselves throughout the day. So the first step to losing weight is being in a calorie deficit. Being in a calorie deficit means we're going to lose weight. Then with the 3 macronutrients, our carbohydrates, our fats, and our proteins, this is going to change our body composition, essentially the way that we feel to the touch, and then the way that we look, right? So our muscle density, and then reducing our body fat and making sure we sustain enough muscle mass. So we have that toned look, and then we have enough muscle mass for that to show as the body fat reduces. A big part of where a lot of people mess up is the first thing that they do when they want to lose weight is they cut out carbohydrates. So what they end up doing is instead of cutting out, let's say, the bullshit when it comes to like the full fat or full sugar sodas or the junk food, they just cut out all carbohydrates because they think all carbohydrates are bad. So they cut out the rice, or they cut out the potatoes, or they cut out the fruit or anything like that. And this is where they start to suffer, because this might last maybe a week or maybe 2 weeks. And then they start to get those cravings, right? They run out of energy in the afternoon and they start to crave anything with sugar, because our brain and our body is really, really smart. You're asking your body to do a task, which means stay up all day, go to work, function, go to the gym. You have this motivation to lose weight, so you're probably training really hard, and it's going to start to run out of energy. So your brain's going to send you signals. The signals are going to say, hey, Martin, you're asking me to do all this stuff, and I know that you've got that chocolate hidden in the fridge at work. I'm going to make you crave that chocolate, and I'm going to make you break. So at 3 o'clock, you're going to go eat that chocolate, which means you break your diet, you feel bad about yourself, and then you fall off track, and it's a snake eating the snake's tail. And before you know it, you're back at square one. So when you're trying to lose weight, the first thing that you need to do is understand that carbohydrates are part of your macronutrients. And it's really important to understand how to sustain and eat carbohydrates through your weight loss journey. If you want to make this a lifelong goal and a lifelong journey, eating carbohydrates is part of the plan. It's not about cutting them out. You can lose weight and still eat a slice of bread. It's not going to destroy your life. Martin, what's your takeaway with that?
If we could just give a quick recap. So when you're eating carbs, your body converts the surplus carbs into glucose, which is what our bodies currently run on. And, if you were trapped in the forest and you didn't have any carbs, what happens is that your body starts eating the body fat, and it converts the body fat through the liver into something called ketones. And your body essentially changes your fuel source from glucose to ketones. And this is where the keto diet comes from, that your body starts running on fat. And so when you use a keto diet, you cut out all carbs, and now your body starts running on fat. And the idea is that your body will then use the body fat and eat the body fat a little bit more efficiently. The problem is, when you're on the keto diet, if you eat a little bit of carbs while you're on it, your body, it takes about 5 days to go into the state of keto. And so what people do is, when they don't fully understand this, is that you start going into the keto state, and if you eat a little bit of carbs, you'll kick yourself out of the keto state. So your body's running on glucose again, but now you don't have enough glucose. And so your body's trying to run on glucose without it. And so you will feel absolutely terrible. If you're trying to do the keto diet, you have to be 100% strict with zero carbs. And most people don't know this, and they're not. And they have a little bit of carbs, so they're not in the state of keto. And so they feel absolutely terrible while they're doing it. And it's literally 100% or nothing. And so, you have to make this life decision that I am having zero carbs and doing keto, or I'm not, and I am having carbs. And, you're kind of in the middle here, where you're trying to do it and you're in a little bit of carbs, you're kicking yourself out of the state. You are putting yourself in a world of pain where you're just lethargic, no energy, you feel terrible. And if you don't know all that stuff, you don't really understand why. And you just, you're really causing yourself a world of pain by doing that.
Yeah, it's horrendous. Like, I've tried the keto diet. It's absolutely horrendous. Like, the lowest I've gone on carbohydrates was when I did that health coaching program when I was on with you. And that was like 75 grams of carbs every single day for like 12 weeks. And that was rough as hell. And that's because it was sort of in between that same phase that you're talking about right now. Right. But to have that little amount of carbs meant I had zero energy throughout the day and then still performing. But that's when I got scurvy and I got really sick and I got really run down. Like, the body was just absolutely run into the ground. And it was because I had zero energy sources, right? So my fat intake was really low, as well as my carbohydrate intake was really low. And this is what happens with most people is, if you don't have the willpower to sustain it, then you end up breaking it. And if you do have the willpower to sustain it, then you end up getting really, really sick, because your body needs some kind of fuel source, right? And if you're adding exercise and training and life stresses onto that, then what your body does is it forces you to rest, either through injury or through sickness or whatever happens. Your body just runs into a wall, and then you just fall off track eventually, and before you know it, then your health journey comes to a full stop.
So an important point of note, if you to enter into the state of ketosis, you have to eat less than 50 grams of carbs a day. So if you're eating 75, you're putting yourself in the worst possible position. So if you're going to go down that low, you might as well go less than 50, put yourself in the state of keto. But now you have to purposefully raise your fat so that you do have an energy source and that you don't feel terrible. But now you have to watch your fat, because obviously putting that olive oil on, the point of the keto is just a fancy way of going into a calorie deficit. And, I was watching a friend of mine having a healthy lunch, pouring 5 tablespoons of olive oil on his salad and putting himself in a calorie surplus without even realizing it. And, so the fat is very, very easy to go into a calorie surplus with. So, you have to track that side of it as well. Put yourself in ketosis, make sure you got enough fat for good energy, and still be in a calorie deficit if you're going to do that right.
Yeah. All right. So just before we go for the break, we've got 5 minutes before we head out. The last one, or the second to last one we want to talk about this morning is sweating means that you're burning fat. So this is the fourth myth this morning. This is one that I wanted to debunk quickly before the break. It grinds my gears, so to speak, when people go to the gym just to try and sweat as much as they can, thinking this is going to burn those calories or burn those pounds off them or burn that fat off them. When you sweat, all it means is your body's trying to cool itself down. That's all it means. So these fat burners you're buying from the store, they're just purely to make as much money for the business as possible. They're just raising your heart rate, which means they're just trying to make you sweat as much as you can. So just be aware, again, the only way that you're going to lose fat is simply by being in a calorie deficit. Anything on that, Martin, before we go for this break?
Well, yeah, I work with a lot of people here who don't know too much about it, and they come in and say, "Oh, I lost a pound since yesterday." And I always laugh at them. It's like, the fighters who cut weight for a fight can lose 20 pounds in one day. And the other thing is putting on a pound, putting on 2 pounds overnight. One of the worst things, especially females who do have more fluctuation, I think, than males, don't weigh yourself every day. You are going to have absolute water fluctuations, and it's just sweat. You sweat it out, you lose a pound or two, you rehydrate, you gain a pound or two. You cannot put on 2 pounds of body fat in a day. Like, throw that scale out the window. Weigh yourself when your coach tells you to, if it's once a week, if it's once every 2 weeks, whatever that is, because that's the only way you can truly judge, your fat progression. But you'll drive yourself crazy weighing your water fluctuation and worrying about it. That's a big thing that I would tell you not to do.
Yeah, exactly right. All right. So as we head into the break this morning, there's a couple of things that I want you to do. Number one is, if you are going into this week starting fresh or kind of restarting your week, is write down at least 3 promises you have with yourself with regards to 3 habits you want to improve around either your training, your nutrition, or even as simple as improving your sleep, right? So sleep is a huge factor when it comes to trying to lose fat, trying to lose weight. If you're not getting enough sleep, this lack of sleep is going to improve or increase your cravings. And especially if you're struggling with your cravings and your nutrition, sleep is one of the first things that you need to address. When it comes to your habits around your exercise and your training, just make sure that you're getting at least 3 resistance training sessions in through the week. This is going to help with your discipline and making sure that you're setting some good goals. It doesn't have to be the gym. You can start training at home. A couple of dumbbells, a couple of kettlebells, and you're going to be set. Even some body weight stuff will be absolutely fine. And then the third part is your nutrition, right? So it doesn't have to be a full-on diet. You don't have to restrict. You don't have to cut out carbs, but just make sure that you're following some kind of nutrition plan. Even if this means that you start off with like cutting out full-fat sodas, right? So when I say full-fat sodas, just cut out the full sugar soda and just replace it with diet soda. If you can get in that habit, you're going to cut out maybe 250 calories a day. Before you know it, that's a couple thousand calories a week, right? That puts you maybe in a calorie deficit. And before you know it, that's going to help you lose a couple pounds throughout the week. So those simple changes can help start, or at least kickstart your journey to getting off a few extra pounds. And I know in the US, we're almost in summer, I believe. So if you want to start these habits now, so then before the end of the year, you're set up, to make sure that these habits are going to be long lasting, that's where you want to start. All right. Anything else before we go for this break in about 60 seconds, Martin?
We're good. We're good.
All right. We'll see you all when we come back. We've got a couple more things I want to leave you with this week to make sure that we're starting you out right and starting you off well.
All right.
If you're trying to quit drinking or doing too many drugs, listen to me. You don't know me and we'll never meet. I had a problem like you once. I drank and used to party a little too much till it got out of control and almost ruined my life. I realized I needed help to fix my problem before it totally destroyed me. If you've tried to fix your drinking and drug problem and you know you can't do it alone, you need to call the National Treatment Advisors. They'll immerse you into a 30-day program to replace your old habits with new habits and totally change your life. And if you have PPO private health insurance, the entire program may be covered. Fix your problem right now before it gets any worse. Get clean. Call now and learn more. 877-247-1581. 877-247-1581. 877-247-1581.
Attention all business owners and creative minds. Do you need a unique and personalized touch for your products? Look no further than Romika Laser Engraving and Custom Designs. I'm Ron Phillips, co-owner of Romika Designs. We offer custom laser engraving services for a variety of products, including promotional items and corporate or personal gifts. With state-of-the-art equipment and a team of skilled designers, we can engrave intricate designs on virtually any material. Whether it's a special message, a company logo, or a custom design, Romika Laser Engraving will help you make your mark. And the best part, our prices are affordable and our turnaround time is quick.
I couldn't be happier with the work Romika Laser Engraving did for me. The engraving on my product was precise and exactly what I wanted.
So don't wait any longer to add a personal touch to your products. Call Romika Laser Engraving and Custom Designs today at 817-400-4040 or visit our website at romikadesigns.com. We look forward to helping you make your mark.
All right, well, welcome back. This morning, we're talking about the myths around weight loss and fat loss and everything else in between. My name is Adam, joined this morning, as always, by Martin out here from the Dominican Republic. So I live out here and I run the online health and fitness community called How to Look Good Naked Without Giving Up the Foods That You Love. And Martin is out here running his real estate company called Coldwell Banker. He's been out here for how long now, Martin?
14 years, 2011. I got here full time. I've left the island 3 times in 14 years.
But I don't blame you. I was meant to come here for a month, and I've now been here a year. So, but one of the things that Martin and I connected on, and why we have become such good friends, is because of the fitness journey that we've both been on. So this morning, I wanted to come on and essentially lead with the myths that we've both broken because we've gone through the fitness journey ourselves. And obviously I'm a health coach and lead a lot of my clients through the myths that they've experienced or the stuff that they've overcome, and sort of lead them down the right and correct path to make sure that they maintain it. So I wanted to share that stuff with you. But one of the things just before the break that I started talking about was the importance of sleep, right? So this sort of back end segment of this morning's show, I want to talk about some stuff that's really important to have in your regime or your schedule when it comes to losing weight, getting fit, getting healthy, and everything else. And one of the most important things is making sure that your sleep is dialed in. The reason why is because if your sleep is an absolute mess, one of the first things that your body is going to start to do is look for extra energy the next day or the coming days. Especially if you're running on low energy, your body's going to make sure that it sends you craving signals, right? So hunger hormones are a real thing. And especially if you are trying to be in a calorie deficit, you're hitting the gym more, or you're doing workouts more, or maybe you're trying to increase your steps, and then couple that with the fact that you're not prioritizing your sleep. Maybe you're staying up and you're scrolling on your phone, or you're watching Netflix, or maybe you're just not getting as deep a sleep as you should be. Your body's going to be running on empty essentially the next day and sending you hunger hormones or craving signals just because it wants to get extra energy, right? So even if you're trying to feed yourself proper energy throughout the day, it knows, because you know that you have maybe the hidden Halloween candy in the back of the pantry, or it knows that there's donuts in the break room, or it knows how to get those extra scoops of sugar in the Starbucks order, or whatever it is. So it's going to send you those craving signals. And this is how a lot of people end up breaking their diet, or by that 3 o'clock slump, when that sort of rolls around, you end up getting huge amounts of cravings for chocolate that you normally don't crave. So make sure that when you go through the process of wanting to lose weight or lose a few extra pounds, or really focus on fitting into those jeans or getting into that bathing suit, or whatever your goal is at the moment, that you prioritize your sleep. So a couple of things that you can start to do is, number one, is step away from the screens before you go to bed, which means give yourself like 10 or 15 minutes of a bit of a digital detox before you go to bed. Set a bedtime routine. I know Martin tells me all the time that his soon-to-be wife, Ellie, basically puts the foot down and make sure that they go to bed on time, because he does like to work really, really hard at what he does, and he's really, really driven at it. So she kind of makes him go to bed on time, which is awesome. For me, one of the big things is making sure my room is pitch black and cold. Like, I hate having extra light in my room. I hate having a hot room. So those things are non-negotiable for me. I have a bedtime routine. It just helps me get into a deeper sleep. And this means that the next day, my body's not running around looking for extra energy, right? And then I combat that by making sure I don't buy the Oreos, I don't buy the food so it's not in the house at all. Because if it's in the house, then I'll definitely eat it. Like, I don't even buy peanut butter, because if peanut butter's in the house, I'm definitely going to eat it. So, but what's your takeaway with that, the sleep aspect, Martin?
And yeah, I mean, having somebody else is a great help, because she goes to stay at her mother's house occasionally, and when she's not here, it's definitely stay up a little bit later on my phone, etc. And when she's here, we watch a movie, so I have a much better routine where I can put my phone to the side. I go to bed at 7:30, 8 o'clock, put my phone to the side, put a movie on, and then 9:30, turn the TV off, turn the light off. I mean, last night, because it was Sunday, we were watching a movie in the afternoon, and I went to sleep. So come 10 o'clock, we're both wide awake. And, we made a decision. I said, wide awake or not, TV off, light off, go to sleep. And obviously we went to sleep. And it's difficult to do. I find it's actually more of a discipline for me to go to bed than it is to wake up in the morning. And to wake up in the morning, I can get out of bed no matter how groggy, tired I am. I've got that discipline down. And the nighttime one, because your brain's running and you're still awake, that to have that discipline to turn the phone off, turn the TV off, turn the light off, go to sleep. Got to do it, man. Yeah. Otherwise, then the next day it can be a disaster. When you're groggy, when you're tired, when your energy's low, you can genuinely make bad decisions with food, with fitness, with all kinds of different things.
Yeah, 100%. All right. So the next super simple way that you can start to improve your nutrition. So I'm in the DMs all day when talking to new people that are either wanting to work with me or just wanting help. Not for the obvious reasons I'm in the DMs, but for the actual reasons to be in the DMs when it comes to when it comes to talking to people. And the first question I ask a lot of people is when they have a goal or something they're trying to achieve is, okay, what are you doing right now to work to this goal that you're trying to work towards? And the first response I always get is something around activity, right? So I'm hitting the gym more, or I'm doing more classes or whatever. It's never about nutrition. But the first thing that you should be addressing is your nutrition, right? So balancing your plate is the best and the easiest way to balance, is the best and easiest way to address your nutrition, let's say, issues or problems you might be having. So if you're looking at your plate, number one, the first thing you should be putting on your plate is doubling your protein portion. A lot of people look for fancy ways to eat protein or fancy protein recipes, or essentially just trying to complicate protein in general, right? Like I know even on my Instagram page, I have like protein recipes, but that's just for the fun of it. When it comes to making my own protein, I just make it as simple as possible. Fish, chicken, ground beef, as easy and as simple as possible. When it comes to increasing your protein, you don't have to look for new protein sources. You just have to double the amount of protein that you're having. So on your plate, whether you're having dinner or you're having breakfast or you're having lunch, just double the amount of protein you're having. Then you got to look at your vegetables. Again, having 25 to 30 to 50% of your plate being vegetables, it's going to help with your fiber. It's going to be, yes, some carbohydrates, but it's going to take up a lot of volume. And when you're trying to be in a calorie deficit, one of the best hacks is how satiating can you make that meal? How much volume can you get for the lesser amount of calories, right? And like your greenery, when it comes to your vegetables or your salads, is getting a lot of volume, so filling up your stomach, but also it's not going to be that many calories compared to over serving the, let's say, like the dirty carbohydrates when we're talking about your fries or anything like that, right? You still have to have carbohydrates. So you still have to have your rice. You still have to have your potatoes. That stuff's really important, like we spoke about earlier in the conversation today. So making sure you still have rice on your plate, or you still have some kind of potatoes on your plate, that stuff is going to be really, really important as well. Martin, what's your sort of takeaway with that, with someone that's just trying to be a bit more mindful when it comes to their nutrition?
I would say success isn't sexy. That's what I would say. Obviously, you look at all the Instagram influencers and all the rest of it, and obviously, you know, fancy and pretty sells, and the fancy meals and the big, beautiful meal preps and everything, it looks great and it sells. But for you and your life, when nobody's watching, you know, you need to find 5, 6 basic meals that you're just going to repeat. You know what I'm saying? Success isn't sexy. You know, the big flashy win at the end of it comes from a boring, repetitive daily grind of just doing the same thing over and over again for a long, sustained period of time. You know, when on my Instagram, when I have this photo of like all the veins and the six-pack abs, that's from 6 months of doing a boring, repetitive thing over and over again and eating the same 5, 6 meals. And, you know, I do a weekly meal prep on a Sunday and put it in these, you know, the plastic Pyrex, and it looks horrible. It's unseasoned chicken breast with white rice. And it's like, you know, my protein is, you know, like plain, okay, it's not plain chicken breast. It used some seasonings, but you know, chicken breast, canned tuna, ground beef, turkey breast, you know, white fish fillet, and it's just repeated over and over again. And you know, that's my advice to you: is just find 5 to 7 meals of just nice, easy food that's accessible, easy to make. Find the foods that you can eat in a rush. You know, when I'm at work and I'm out and I can't access my meal prep, what am I going to eat in the supermarket? I've got to rush and I've got to buy a can of tuna and some light mayonnaise and some crackers or some turkey breast in a packet. You know, what am I going to eat? Like just these easy, accessible foods that I can just access and repeat over and over again, and it isn't these big fancy meal preps. Yes, do that now and again, but you can't be doing that all the time if you're a busy person with family and commitments, etc.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head with that. And I think this is where most people get super overwhelmed, right? Thinking that's what they have to do to lose the weight, and you don't, right? Like the most amount of success I've ever had is making meals that look like a dog's breakfast, because it's just about numbers. That's all it is. Like it doesn't have to look attractive. It just has to hit goals. That's all it is. Right.
Yeah.
All right. So one of the things that I think is the most important thing, we spoke about this quite a few times through this call, is making it sustainable, right? So not only when it comes to nutrition, but when it comes to understanding, the first part is your training. So when it comes to your exercise, whether you like playing pickleball or you like doing fasted cardio or you like doing Orange Theory, one of the things that you have to do is make sure that it is you as a person, right? It doesn't have to be the latest trend. It doesn't have to be like the High Rocks trend or CrossFit or anything. You have to enjoy it for who you are. It shouldn't just be something that you do for like 90 days or 30 days just to get a result. It has to be something that you like to do because it resonates with you as a soul, into your soul. And this is what I say to my clients all the time. You know, Martin and I have been doing freaking burpees every single morning for, I can't remember how long, on and off, like what, 5 years now, longer.
And we had sustained periods. I think we did every day at 4:30 in the morning for 3 years straight, pretty much.
Yeah. And it's just because it resonated with us and because we enjoyed doing it, right? And it's not because it has to be for every single person. I would never play pickleball in my life because I like playing tennis, right? This is just the thing that I like to do. And I don't feel like I'll ever resonate with playing pickleball. But what I'm trying to get at here is, if you want to make your health journey something that is going to last as long as you're going to be on this planet, you have to enjoy it. It has to be part of who you are. This is the same thing when it comes to your nutrition. If it's going to be keto, or if it's going to be the lemon detox diet, then it has to be something that you can sustain, and it has to give you long-lasting results, and it has to line up with you as a character. The other thing to remember is you have to do it so it fits your lifestyle. If you still want to go out and have a glass of wine or have a margarita on the weekend, then you have to make sure that it aligns with that and still is going to give you the results that you want. I see a lot of people that will do keto during the week and then go out and have a pizza on the weekend. I'm like, this is not going to give you the results that you want. When it comes to, let's say, any advice that you give someone that's starting out this week for the first time, Martin, what, like 2 or 3 things would you give them advice on if this is their first sort of week, let's say, going from the couch to taking their first step on their health journey?
I think the good quote is just 80% of success is showing up. You know, when you first start, it doesn't matter what you do. It's just showing up that is going to get you the results. Consistency over everything. If you're going to go to the gym, just go for 5 minutes. Like, what you do there is irrelevant. Taking your physical form and your body to the location is the most important part of it all. You know, I think they say the heaviest weight of the gym is the front door. You know, that's what's going to defeat you, is not going. If you can just show up and say to myself, okay, I'm going to go to the gym 4 times this week for 5 minutes. Go for 5 minutes. Great. Like, just commit to going 4 times. And then over the course of the next month, how much you do, how much effort you put in, all of that will sort itself out. If you can just consistently go 4 times a week, all the rest of it will sort itself out. Just showing up is going to be the most important thing at the beginning.
Yeah,
it's the main thing.
100%. And then one major thing that we haven't really addressed is the internal work that I highly suggest that everyone does, as well as much as they focus on the external work, right? So the people that I see that have the most success on their weight loss journey, whether they are trying to lose 100 pounds or just trying to lose 20 pounds, if they don't work on their internal as much as they work on their external, they never sustain it. the amount of people that I've spoken to that have lost weight and then regained it or regained more weight, it's because their internal image doesn't match their external. Sorry, their internal doesn't match their external once they reach their goal, right? So sure, they might lose those 100 pounds or those 50 pounds, but they haven't done the internal work and they haven't grown internally. So the discipline that you need to grow into, or the person you need to grow into, is a huge part of this. And this is coming down to changing your character. This is coming down to letting go of old habits, letting go of old standards and raising new standards to make sure that this new version of yourself, even if it's 6 months older, right, is essentially the new version of yourself that's going to stay around for a very, very long time. A lot of people end up holding on to the old version of themselves while they lose weight, and then fall back into their old habits as soon as they run into hard times, right? One of the, let's say, hacks that I have with my clients as they lose weight. So, for example, Jess, who lost over 80 pounds with me last year, I got her to throw out all of her fat clothes. And this wasn't because I was trying to get her to go and do a huge shopping spree. This is because I didn't want her to be able to fall back into old habits, right? I didn't want her to have the comfort of being able to go to her closet when winter rolls around and be able to pull out that old jumper and then get her mind to slip back into the old Jess. And a lot of people don't realize that the old jumper or the old pair of jeans or the old pair of sweatpants that we have, they have emotional attachments, right? They have those emotional anchors, those old, it's almost like the actor or the actress that slips back into that old outfit from the old movie that they were in, and that slipped back into that character and back into that mindset. So if you're on your weight loss journey and you're losing weight, make sure you throw out your clothes. As you lose the weight, upgrade your wardrobe, get a new pair of gym clothes, get a new pair of jeans. One of my favorite clients of all time, Ashley, she never wanted to step on the scale as her goal. Her goal was always the next pair of jeans down, right? So that was her measuring point and that was her metric. So every time she would lose weight, what she would do was she would go to the shops and buy a pair of jeans that was a size too small. And then that would be her metric to get into. And as she got into those pair of jeans, she would just throw out the other pair of jeans. All right. So this what it did was set a positive anchor around getting into those jeans. Martin, what's your takeaway with this?
Something I was thinking about when you were talking is the reason why, which we've touched on, is if the why is big enough, we can overcome anyhow. And getting that motive down of the powerful motive, and more than just the physical appearance, etc. Of obviously why are we doing it? The real health reasons for the family, for the kids, for our future, of the person we want to become. But the writing it down, of that person that we want to become, and attaching so much more to it, of character-based, value-based, discipline-based, of that person. And then also writing down the person that we are and looking at all the defects that we have. And when I'm looking at my habits, of my eating habits, and saying, I give in to temptation, and framing it in a way that it isn't just, I made a bad food choice. This is like disobedience to self. And it's, I want to become a certain person and I have all these goals and aspirations. And I say to myself, I'm not going to do X. And then I don't have the self-will and the self-control to follow through with the promises that I make to myself. And, the promises that I make to myself, and I let myself down, and the disappointment. And, it goes so much deeper than just, I made a bad food choice. There's all these things behind it. And if I can literally write down and make it so much deeper and look at the pain and the disappointment, and 20 years from now, when I can't pick up my grandkids and I've got diabetes, and make it, an overly exaggerated nightmare, which can come true, obviously. And then put those two things into perspective and make it hurt and make it amazing and positive, and do these two things. That is such a powerful push to put me into action today. So much more than just, I want to lose 10 pounds.
Yeah, 100%. And I think this is where a lot of people don't go when it comes to their goal setting, right? One of the first conversations I have with a lot of people that come on board with the program is, I want you to set I want you to set some goals over the next 12 months, 6 months, and 3 months, but I want the goals to stay the same once you set them. So I want you to have a deep think about it, because they have to lead into each other, but you're going to write it down in your journal every single night. So it's about creating this future and about leading into this version of the self that you want to become, right? This 10.0, this superhero version of you. And if you don't create this, then what are you doing? Because no one really, to be honest, no one really cares if you're 10 pounds heavier or you're 20 pounds heavier. Only you care, right? But if you have this internal itch, or you have this internal like frustration of like, I need to lose this weight, but I don't know why. I just have this I've got this drive to do it. Then it's your higher power, your conscious calling, like the higher spirit, whatever you want to call it, saying that there's a bigger purpose behind this and you can't really see it. And, you know, I wrote on my story this morning that the path will unveil itself as you take the first step. And this is where I think a lot of people think it's just about losing some weight, but no, it's got nothing to do with losing weight. It's got to do with you becoming the best version of yourself, because that means then something else is going to happen behind that. And I see this time and time again when it comes to my clients. You know, Jess is now going down the road of becoming a trainer and becoming a nutritionist and getting on stage and like really stepping into becoming the person that she's always wanted to be, which is amazing, because now she's going to go on and change other people's lives, right? So the cool thing about that is she's going to go change other people's lives. But the other side of the coin to this is, if she had never done that, she would have never changed people's lives, or she would have spent her entire life with this inner itch or this inner frustration, not knowing what she could have done, right? And there's so many people like that.
Well, let me give you 2 quick examples. You know, I started my true fitness journey. You know, I started all this when I was 19. I started running, and then I started kickboxing, and I said to myself, okay, I'm going to go to Thailand and do kickboxing. And then after Thailand, I came to the Dominican Republic. And I mean, look at you. We met through the fitness community, and now you live in the Dominican Republic because you came to visit me. And, you know, you starts off as something fitness, and it can genuinely lead to true life-changing, life-altering paths that you could never foresee. You log on somewhere to do some burpees, and you end up living in the Dominican Republic. It's like, you know, it really creates these life-changing paths that are positive because of the people you meet and because of the decisions that you make, where you truly take massive life-changing action that you wouldn't even dream of before. And it starts off that you just go for a run.
Yeah, you know? I just wanted to look good with my shirt off, and now I'm living in the Dominican Republic.
Seriously, man. It creates this massive action, and the people that you meet, because the people that you meet generally in this kind of community, when you start connecting with other fitness people, they are massively driven and disciplined, and they do, most of the time, they take in this huge action where they're involved in things and communities, and they're taking these leaps and risks and doing stuff. And then you start doing the same thing. And then you meet people who live in crazy countries and are opening businesses and are entrepreneurs. And, you know, you start being given these opportunities, and it's just crazy. And it starts off with losing 10 pounds or whatever. And then you start getting involved and doing all this stuff. It's amazing.
All right, so we're in the last about 60 seconds of the show this morning. So like I said, just want to leave you to make sure that you start the week off right. Number one, make sure you're setting your habits and your standards to align with the new version of yourself. Make sure that you promise yourself at least 3 workouts this week, some resistance style workouts, and then cut out the full fat sodas. So no more full sugar sodas. And we'll see you next week, same time, same place, same channel. Hope you have a brilliant week. Make sure that you get some good sleep and you stay on your goals this week. We'll see you next week. See you later, Martin. Peace out.
Beautiful. Good day, good week, everybody. Stay consistent. No full fat sodas. I love that. Good day, good day.
From Burleson to Venus and Grandview to Godley, this is the voice of Johnson County, Joco Community Radio.